Ooh, look at that. Look at that. Hey, everybody. David from Flash by Vcyclenut. I have finally got my hands on my own R9, not a customer's R9. So, my plans with my R9 is I am going to turn it into a track day street weapon. Not a full-blown race bike. I have my ZX4RR. That is my race bike and will continue to be. But this will be a project that, for me, that will be both my street bike and a track day bike for training, because I feel that if I train on the R9 at track days for my skills and for everything, that will transfer very well to the ZX4RR and make the ZX4RR feel a little slow and lazy. So I have some exhaust. First, I'm going to break it in. Of course, it's only got 11 miles on it. And break it in, test it again, get all my baseline numbers with this bike instead of Manny's R9, map it out stock, or put my mapping in it for the stock bike, test it, and then I got a few exhausts that I haven't mapped out and tested yet on the R9 that I will get done. Map them out on this, of course, post all my results and good stuff like that. Once I get that done, I have a set of cams that I'm going to put in it, and we'll see what goes along with all of that. I'm going to do some simple modifications, nothing too crazy, that will help it at the track and both on the street without getting too nuts and turning it into a $40,000 motorcycle. So stay tuned for that. I get it broken in. We'll get the baseline numbers for this and get you that video. Finishing up on the prep for my first track day, and one of the things I always like to do is we want to turn off all the lights because we're going to duct tape over them. And if the lights are on, you're not supposed to be able to really, most track days, they want you to not be able to see any kind of brake lights or headlights or anything. And it also keeps the tape from sticking so bad as it gets hot and the lights, they're LED lights, so maybe that wouldn't apply anymore. But either way, it was really quite easy to disable all the lighting on the bike. So this cover sat right here. You just squeeze the two ends and it lifts off. It conveniently has, look at that, we got a fuse puller right in the lid. And you're gonna pull three of them, the 7.5 headlight, the 7.5 signal, and then the 2 amp stop. And then you're just going to unplug the tail light right from here. And now I have no lights on the bike, and we are almost ready for that track day. So I'm doing something I always like to do, even at tracks I've been to several times, is walking the track. It always gives you a different perspective. It's really, really important on a track you've never been to, because it'll look really a lot different when you're on the bike, even when you're just getting warmed up the first couple laps. So I always like to look at the corners, get a little bit of a plan going before I lay wheels on the track. So we got here early enough so that I was able to do that. Really quite pretty. Pavement here is pretty fucking gnarly, so we'll see. So all set for the first track day today with it. Still running the stock tires. Just go over the few little things I did that I think are a minimal for any track day bike. Put the Woodcraft case covers on both sides. I'm real big on multiple slide points in case we crash. So God forbid. So I got bar end slider, front axle slider, rear spool slider, and then the case cover from Woodcraft on both sides of the bike. Change the grips, just the levers. Other than that, still on stock tires. Haven't touched the suspension. Of course, got the flash in it. Got the front tire pressure at 30, rear at 29, cold. And today and tomorrow, just be working on throttle maps, get them all dialed in for the track on Thunderhill East. So super excited to put it through the paces. So just did my first sighting laps. Like any new track, it always feels really crazy, like that I always doubt myself after the first couple laps, but I've always gotten up to speed by the end of the first couple sessions. So I'm going to take a little bit different approach with the rider age, where I'm going to start them all on a level of 3. My electronic brake management will start at 2, but as far as the lift control, slide control, and traction control at 3, and then when I feel them start to intervene and get in my way, I will start to turn them down. I am on street tires, like I said, on the stock tires. So I think this is a good approach, and it also will show me where, how obtrusive they are, and if I can actually use them as a tool, or if they're just like one of those things, I'm just gonna put them all on one or turn them off. Hopefully Yamaha's really pretty good with their electronics. hopefully I'll be able to use them as a tool. It's kind of crazy. I always feel like at every track day I'm working, at the beginning working through stuff. I still really haven't got my Solo 2 to totally work. I'm charging it between rounds and it's working on batteries, but it still really hasn't given me a lap time. I've done 3 sessions, I think. So I went out for the last session and my quick shifter auto blipper wasn't working. And I remembered that it's got a track mode on the dashboard. So I had just put it in track mode before it went out. I thought, well, why would that turn it off? But it's the only thing I've done since last session, and it worked the entire last session. So I came in, I'm trying to turn it on, I'm pressing the lever, the shift lever, turn the key on, all that shit. And I can see it's on the dash, but I'm not getting the green arrow or up or down when I try riding around the parking lot. So then I start going through the logic. I thought maybe the plunger on the rear brake wasn't fully releasing. And then I came over to here, and on the clutch lever, there's a plunger back under there, and it has logic that if the clutch is pulled in, that the auto blipper quick shifter won't work. Well, I didn't get this bike new. I got it with 11 miles on it, and they had dropped it a couple times on the left side. And that's how I was able to get it. They were scared of it, so I was able to get it. That's how I was getting it. So what happened when it dropped, the plunger in there, it's plastic, and it must have just been hanging on by a thread, and it decided to break. So the bike thought that the clutch lever was always in, wasn't quick shifted auto blipping. So I've put a shit ton of tape, got the plunger held all the way in, a bunch of duct tape holding it in. Fortunately, when the clutch lever is out, it will naturally hold it in. So I'm hoping that it will work the rest of the day. If it doesn't, then I'm gonna have to ride without a quick shifter auto blipper, which would really suck. It's been a long time since I've done that, and I'll have to remember how to blip and do all that shit on the brakes. But kind of just working through stuff. Bike feels really good. I'm still slow as shit. Many corners where I'm not really quite comfortable. Actually took the bike to Dave Moss. He made some suspension changes for me and see if it feels a little better once I get out there. So I'm going to call it here on Saturday, and I'm going to get some Pirelli slicks put on. I got down to a 217, which really I shouldn't be an A group. I should have been in the B+. But I'm going to put some slicks on it. I mean, I'm sure I could go a couple seconds faster on them on the street tires, but just getting to a point they're moving around a lot, and I'm just kind of hoping, prayer, and every time I throw it into some of the corners that it sticks, and I'm getting more used to the track and the flow of it, and I know if I just keep going out there and pushing, likelihood of something bad happening is greater. So we're gonna go to slicks tomorrow. I kept the nannies on, or the fuel rider aids, when I had on all day. The Traction Control 3 was really good with the street tire. I could feel it kicking in. I could feel the back end start to step out, and then it would catch it and it would drive forward. So pretty impressed, because I still got all those other settings to go down. So far so good. Day 2 here at Thunderhill. Yesterday worked through some problems like with that clutch switch and the quick shifter auto blipper not working, and underestimated how much I would not trust street tires on the front end. The electronics did a really good job of taking care of the rear end for the power and not worried about high siding it. But I just got really paranoid as the pace came up. If I really loaded the front end, there's an off-camber turn here, and the pavement's not real consistent, but not just me being paranoid about throwing a brand new bike down the road. But today, back on slicks with warmers. Yesterday was really kind of nice not to have to go through this whole routine, but got my lovely wife here, and so she always helps out with that, makes it a lot easier and a lot less stressful. So was able to tweak the throttle maps yesterday. So like I said, street map power mode 1 is definitely my street map. So I really worked on power modes 2, 3, and 4. I'll make up a curve of how they work. I just really no major changes, just tweak them. Discovered track mode and how to use that, and with the lap timer. And then it's really nice. You've got the 4 different track modes, so you can set everything. So today I'll back off on the rider aids since I'm on the slicks and won't need them so much. I also worked on the brake mapping for 1 and 2. I'm really happy with that. I really didn't honestly need to do anything with that. I was happy with how the mapping that I'd come up with them before testing it on the track. So today we'll continue development, continue having fun, and just getting to know the bike better and better, and anxious to feel it with some slicks on it now and see how she handles. So these are my graphical representation of my throttle maps. I was limited to what I could do. I just did this in paint. So they're not perfect, but they give you definitely the general idea. I know for me personally, I look at throttle mapping as a tool. So my job is to get through the corner or to ride the bike, and I'm looking for the best tool to do that. And different situations require different tools, right? You could drive a screw in with a hammer, but why would you do that if you have a screwdriver in your tool belt? So by having 4 different power modes and 4 different throttle maps, it allows me to make you different tools for different areas or different scenarios. So the brown line is the most aggressive line. That's my street throttle map, right? It comes on smooth so you can control the on and off, and then it gets aggressive and ramps up quickly, so you really get a lot of response for the turn that you give. This makes it really fun on the street, but not necessarily the best for at a racetrack. Could you use it at the racetrack? Sure, but I don't think you're going to get the best throttle control with it. The green line represents my power mode 2. And it comes on nice and smooth and linear, and it stays pretty smooth and linear pretty much for up to about 50-60% throttle, and then it ramps up a little quicker to catch back up. So if I made a initial throttle 1-to-1 all the way through, it would be really, really abrupt and hard to ride off of closed throttle. So I always kind of slow them down a little bit in the beginning so that you can get better throttle control. And then to keep it linear, you end up behind where your wrist is, so you have to catch back up, and that's what we see in that curve up on the green. To your brain, what it feels like to your wrist, it just feels linear and smooth and strong. There's no way that you'd perceive that like, oh, this throttle's a little slow. No, it doesn't feel that way at all. It just feels linear and smooth, and then you get to that point where it starts to ramp up, and you can feel it ramp up. But by then, you're well into the throttle, and you're generally picking the bike back up, and you're not really searching for that level of traction. You still have a nice, long, smooth curve to take care of that. The yellow and blue lines are my power modes 3 and 4, and you can see they're nice and even a little bit slower than power mode 2. And you could feel that when you'd switch from power mode 2 to 3 or 4, but quickly your brain would adjust to how much turn it would take to get to the acceleration that you needed. And this just gives you even more throttle to play with coming off the corner where it was really smooth and linear. And I fell in with power mode 3 was what I preferred at this track. And you'll see the initial, basically, fair amount percent of the throttle is the same, and then they're just different at the top. And you're like, well, why would I think that that's a tool? Well, you have where the blue line gets more aggressive right there in the beginning, but then is very linear in the last 10 or 15% of the throttle. And the yellow is more aggressive in that last 10 or 15% of the throttle. So if you had a track with a corner where you really needed to really play with it just off of full throttle, you could do that with power mode 4, where power mode 3 would be more of a aggressive on that very last little bit of percent and wouldn't be as easy to control. So that's why now you have 4 distinct tools for however suits your riding style, the track, and whatever you want. So I hope that helps people understand the throttle maps, and I hope that gets people to use the throttle maps. I get so many people, they reach out to me about something, and I'm like, well, have you tried power mode 2? Because it's exactly what you're asking for. And they're like, well, I didn't even think about that. So this is a tool you have at your disposal. I know a lot of people like myself that are a little older, that grew up on regular conventional throttles before there was even fuel injecting. Like, this is really a weird concept for a lot of us, but it is really, if set up properly, this is a great tool to have to be able to have a throttle that works best in all situations. And it, like I said, it's something I really enjoy. It's one of my favorite parts of creating a new Flash, is creating all these throttle maps. It's all done for the weekend at Thunderhill. I'm actually going to post this video first, but I want to do a huge shout out to Carter at the track. It was an excellent track day. Everybody I rode with yesterday, I had no right really being in the A group. I was slow, below the times they posted to say to be in there. Everybody was courteous. Close passing, but I don't mind close passing as a racer. But everybody was really cool. Organization's really cool. They throw a party last night. Track meeting or the rider meeting was nice. Like, just everybody really nice. Provided breakfast. Really happy with the experience. I would definitely use Carter at the track again. So just wanted to give that shout out before I get too into the video. all done for the second day at Thunderhill. I got down to 11, a 1085, and an 1113. I'm pulling the trigger over here to manually do the lap time, but they're 3 laps in a row, so basically low 11, high 10. That's where I'm at, about 7 seconds faster than I went yesterday, adding the slicks from the street tires, and I was totally comfortable. So now it's just to grow a sack and come through the back section, which has a bunch of fast corners. I got a video with my phone. It's pretty poor. It's not one of my better laps, but I'll attach it so that if you guys have never been here, you can see it. Got my throttle work done that I wanted to. My engine braking map done, both done. It really only required little tweaks from what I had before. I like how there's 3 different personalities of them. On my flash page, I'll make up a chart that kind of shows how the curves of the throttle maps work, and work really well. I'm really happy with all 4 power modes now at this point. Unfortunately, we're right now at the end of October, going into November, so this will probably be my last track day for a while. So I can just focus on working out my fuel mapping for the different exhausts before I install the cams that I'm going to install. But decided to go, I'm going to end up putting the Crowler cams in it. They're easily accessible, not too expensive, drop-in cams, and we'll develop full mapping with all the different exhausts for that once I get all the other exhausts mapped out. Fun stuff. So thanks guys for watching. So let's take a lap around Thunderhill. Again, I was using my phone and I was getting really paranoid it was going to fly off. So not my best video. It's the wrong way, but it was the only way I could get this shape. And again, this was not my best lap. This was a 14 or 15 lap. So not the best, but we could still get a little view of Thunderhill and how it looks. So let's see if this will work. So lap starts on the main straightaway. We're approaching turn 1. On the right is where people come out for their out lap. If nobody's coming out, then you can head out right, far right of that line before you throw it into turn 1. You're on the gas. I turned a bit too tight here. Coming in for 2, I should have been out wider, but again, I was just kind of flowing, really working on throttle maps, not so much really improving my riding at this track. Big, long left-hander you can really throttle out of. You got a very short chute, and this is a really hard off-camber right-hander that is awkward. This catch has caught people all day long on both days. People would lose the front end there. I was really paranoid there on the street tires. Got this little short little left-hander and up this hill. It doesn't look that steep on the video, but it is quite steep. Go over the top of here, click an upshift, start accelerating down this right-hander. I definitely could have carried more speed through this. And then here starts this really fun, flowy section. Here on this corner in particular with the street tires, I could really feel the slide control and the traction control work together. Even on the slick, sometimes I would get it moving around. This was a corner I should have been able to go through just about flat, wide open. And then this next left-hander here, visually, that looked really slippery. I don't know that it was, but it really would play with my head, especially on the street tires. This, you got a little braking zone. You got this really fun uphill corner you can really roll through. And then this climbs, and you go over this hill, which was really quite cool. It would wheelie every time. Only place I felt like I needed a steering dampener. It would go straight every time I set it down, and I had that wheelie control on and stuff, but it would definitely help. Another really flow corner that you could really come cooking through, and it really was fun. This is an awkward-ass corner. You come down to second gear, and you got this blue-green painting on the right here that the line would be straight through. I never really figured out. One time I followed somebody through there. It was kind of smooth and nice. Most of the time I was bouncing all over the place and definitely didn't want to make it a big S-turn. This was a hard braking zone. Rear brake. I turned the rear traction control off, or the rear ABS off. That worked real well for that section. You bring it up out to the edge. And this corner, I was always getting greedy with the throttle. So I have a tendency to get greedy with throttle, and I could gas too early. I should have gotten a turn more and then complete the corner there. So that's a lap. Before the lap timer reset, I hit it twice. I missed it the first time, but it was around a 2:14. I said my best lap was a high 2:10. So there's that. Thanks, you guys, for watching, hanging out for that whole video. Remember, hit that subscribe and like button for more motorcycle-related content. Please keep an eye on my page for this R9 development as it comes along. Feel free to reach out with any questions or things you want to see in the comments, or if you just want to tell me my videos suck. Take care, everybody. Appreciate y'all.